I found out about my wife's VP celebration from an envelope in her car. My name wasn't on it. Her ex-boyfriend's was, sitting at the table with her parents where I should have been. While she toasted her promotion and smiled for photos, I was at home packing bags and moving money. What she walked into later that night was nothing like the life she'd left that morning. My name is Michael Harrison, but everyone calls me Mike. I'm 43, and for the last 18 years, I've poured everything into what I thought was our future. 3 coffee shop franchises spread across the metro area. My name on the lease, my time in the walls, my money keeping the machines running and the doors open. It's not flashy work, but it's honest. The kind of work that used to let me sleep peacefully. Used to. I married Jennifer Collins 21 years ago. She was 20 back then, bright-eyed, ambitious, already mapping out her future. I was 22 and naive enough to believe that love alone could carry us through anything. A year later, Madison was born. Now she's a sophomore at State, 3 hours away, studying biology and living in a dorm. Old enough to see that marriages don't always match the smiling pictures on the mantle. Jennifer is a sales director at MedTech Solutions, one of those mid-sized companies that sells surgical equipment to hospitals. She's damn good at it too. She pulls in 6 figures, flies out to conferences, and schmoozes with doctors and hospital admins. 3 weeks ago, they chose her for a promotion. Nothing public yet, but everyone knew it was coming. Vice President of Sales, corner office, company car, the whole package. I stumbled on the invitation by accident. It was a Tuesday morning, and I was digging around in her car looking for her insurance card. We'd been talking about adding her car to my policy to save some money. That's when I saw it, an ivory envelope wedged between the passenger seat and the center console. Nice, thick paper. The kind companies use when they want you to feel important. MedTech Solutions cordially invites you to celebrate Jennifer Harrison's promotion to Vice President of Sales. Friday, November 15th, 7 p.m. The Metropolitan Club, dinner and reception to follow. Underneath, in smaller print, reserved seating for immediate family. Inside was a seating chart, alphabetized by last name. There she was, Jennifer Harrison. 2 seats at table 3. Her parents, Richard and Susan Collins. Her brother, David Collins, and his wife. My name was nowhere. Not at her table. Not on any table. I stood in the driveway for a long time, staring at that invitation, watching the paper shake slightly in my hand. It wasn't rage yet. It was that empty, echoing feeling when you suddenly realize you've been reduced to background noise in your own life. About 20 minutes later, Jennifer came out, coffee mug in one hand, phone in the other, already mid-conversation. She didn't notice me at first. When she finally did, her smile flickered for a split second. "Hey, babe," she said, voice a little too cheerful. "I thought you'd already left for the Riverside location." I held the invitation up without saying a word. Her face twisted into something complicated. Not complete guilt, not outright defiance, something in the middle. "Oh," she said. "Oh," I repeated. "Your big promotion celebration. Apparently the one I'm not invited to." She placed her coffee mug carefully on the hood of her car, like she needed a prop to stall for time. I watched her expressions shuffle, panic, calculation, annoyance, before she landed on a mix of apologetic and defensive. "Mike, it's not what you think," she said. "Then explain it," I replied. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my wife is becoming a VP, and I'm not even invited to be in the room." Her arms folded across her chest. That's always been her tell. Whenever she's about to say something she knows will land badly, she crosses her arms like a shield. "My parents requested the seating arrangements," she said. "You know how my dad is with these corporate events. He's very particular about optics." "Optics?" I repeated slowly. "He's so worried about optics that his son-in-law of 21 years doesn't make the guest list?" "It's complicated, Mike." "Then simplify it," I said. Jennifer glanced past me toward the street, anywhere but my face. Our neighbor walked by with his dog, completely unaware that my marriage was splintering in the driveway. "They think Austin should be there," she said. The name hit like a bucket of ice. Austin Parker, her college boyfriend. The guy she dated for 2 years before she ever met me. A hospitality consultant who lives in tailored suits and talks restaurant margins like scripture. I'd met him exactly twice. Once at Jennifer's company retreat 4 years ago, and once at her dad's birthday party last summer. Both times he'd looked at me like I was staff, not family, Austin, I said slowly. Your ex-boyfriend, Austin, that Austin. He's consulting for my company now, Jennifer said, her tone turning sharp. He's helping us with our distribution strategy. He's actually been really valuable to the team. That's fantastic, Jen. Really, I said. But it still doesn't explain why he gets a seat at your celebration, and I don't. She finally met my eyes. Her jaw was clenched. Because my parents like him, okay? They always have. They think he's more... their speed. Their speed, I echoed. What does that even mean? You know what I mean, she said. He gets the corporate world, networking, that whole environment. You're great at what you do, but running coffee shops isn't exactly... She stopped, but she didn't have to finish. The rest of that sentence was already ringing in my head. Isn't exactly impressive to people like them. Something in me shifted, not a flare of anger, something colder, heavier. So, let me get this straight, I said quietly. Your parents prefer your ex-boyfriend to your husband, and instead of telling them that's insane, you just went along with it. You didn't even think it was worth mentioning to me. You just hoped I'd never find out. I was going to tell you, Jennifer said, though even she sounded like she didn't believe it. When? I asked. Friday night, when I asked how the party was? She didn't answer. She just stood there with her arms still crossed, looking at me like I was the one making a scene. You know what the worst part is? I said. It's not that you didn't fight for me. It's that you honestly thought I wouldn't care enough to fight for myself. I handed the invitation back to her. She took it, but didn't look down at it once. I've got to get to the Riverside shop, I said. Inventory's coming at 9. I walked past her, got in my truck, and pulled away. In the rearview mirror, I could still see her standing in the driveway, clutching that cream-colored envelope like it might burn through her fingers. Here's the thing about quiet people. We don't always show it when we're hurt. We just start planning. The Riverside location did need me, but not as much as I needed the distraction. Sometimes you just need something to drag you out of your own head, and counting boxes of beans and syrups works as well as anything. I do my clearest thinking when my hands are busy. I spent that Tuesday doing normal owner stuff, reorganizing the stockroom, double-checking delivery schedules, walking the new kid through how to pull a proper espresso shot. On the surface, it was just another Tuesday, but in between signing invoices and wiping counters, my mind kept circling back to that seating chart, to Austin Parker's name, sitting where mine should have been. Around 2 in the afternoon, I called my accountant, Gerald Simmons. He's 68, sharp as ever, and he's been handling my books since I opened my first shop 15 years ago. Gerald, I need you to pull something for me, I said. All activity on our joint accounts for the last 2 years. Everything Jennifer and I share, checking, savings, investments, all of it. That's a mountain of paperwork, Mike, Gerald said. What exactly am I looking for? I don't know yet, I admitted. Anything that feels wrong, big withdrawals, weird transfers, anything I wouldn't have signed off on. There was a pause on the line. Gerald isn't an idiot. He's been married 43 years. He knows what a request like that usually means. I'll have it ready by Thursday, he said finally. Thanks, Gerald. And keep this between us. Always do. I hung up and went back to work, but my brain didn't stop grinding. About 8 months ago, the Riverside shop started losing market share. 3 corporate clients we'd serviced for years suddenly switched over to a new place across town. Velocity Cafe, flashy branding, aggressive prices, and almost too perfect knowledge of our pricing and offerings. I'd blamed competition and bad timing. Now, I wasn't so sure. That night, Jennifer came home late again. She said she'd been in a strategy session with the VP team, prepping for her transition. She kissed me on the cheek like nothing was off, asked about my day, and started making dinner like we were still the couple who told each other everything. Austin called today, she said casually while stirring pasta sauce. Too casual. He wanted to confirm some details about Friday's event. I'm sure he did, I said. Jennifer shot me a look. Mike, please don't do this. Do what? Act like a husband who just found out he's been swapped out for your ex at the biggest night of your career? You haven't been replaced. You're overreacting. I set my beer down and looked straight at her. When did Austin start consulting for your company? I told you, he's been helping with distribution strategy. I didn't ask what he does. I asked when it started. She turned back to the stove. 6, 7 months ago, maybe? I don't remember exactly. Try, I said. Because it matters. Why? She snapped. Why does it matter, Mike? Because 7 months ago, my Riverside shop started bleeding contracts to a competitor, I said. And I'm wondering if those two timelines might not be random. Her spoon froze mid-stir for just a second. Then she actually laughed. You think Austin is leaking your info to another cafe? That's paranoid, even for you. Is it? I asked. He's a hospitality consultant. He knows the industry. He's around you, around your meetings, your numbers. You two talk about work. You talk about my business. Of course not, she said quickly. You sure? I asked. Because you didn't even tell me you were working with him in the first place. So, forgive me if I'm not exactly ready to take your word as gospel right now. The sauce started to boil over. Jennifer killed the burner, moved the pan, and stood there with her back to me, shoulders tight. I'm going to sleep in the guest room tonight, I said. I'm not mad, Jen. I'm just exhausted, and I need space to think. I left her alone in the kitchen and went upstairs. The guest room still had boxes stacked along the wall from when we moved Madison's stuff out for college. I pushed them aside, lay down, and stared at the ceiling. My phone buzzed. A text from Madison. Hey, Dad, can we talk this weekend? Something's been on my mind. I stared at that message for a long moment before replying. Of course, honey. Call me whenever. She didn't write back right away. That was unlike her. Madison usually texted back within seconds. I set the phone on the nightstand and closed my eyes. I wasn't sleeping. I was mapping dates, lining up coincidences that didn't feel like coincidences anymore. My wife's half-truths, my daughter's strange message, the sudden appearance of Austin in our lives again. And by the way, if you're listening to this and any of it feels uncomfortably familiar, do me a small favor. Hit that subscribe button. It helps way more than you'd think. Something like 97% of you listening don't, and believe me, it makes a real difference. Gerald called Thursday morning while I was opening the downtown location. No hello, no warm-up. Mike, you need to come to my office, he said. That's when I knew it was bad. I was there by 10. He had his desk covered in paperwork like a detective's board. Bank statements, transaction histories, copies of checks I didn't recognize. Walk me through this, I said. Gerald pointed to one pile. Joint savings. You and Jennifer. 3 years ago, you had $240,000 in here. That was your dad's life insurance plus what you'd built up from the franchises. Right, I said. That's our retirement. Was your retirement, Gerald corrected quietly. He slid another sheet toward me. 18 months ago, Jennifer withdrew $80,000. Memo line says investment opportunity. My stomach dropped. I never signed off on that, I said. The signature is yours, though, Gerald replied. He slid the withdrawal slip toward me. It was my handwriting, or a very convincing imitation of it. I didn't sign this, Gerald. Then we have a problem. He pulled out more pages. 6 months later, another $70,000. Same deal. Your signature, no discussion. 3 months after that, $45,000 more. My throat felt tight. How much is left? $42,000, he said. And that's only because she bumped into the annual gift tax limit. She couldn't take more without drawing the IRS's attention. I sank back into the chair. Nearly $200,000. Gone. Where did it go? I managed. Gerald handed me another sheet. Wire transfers, all to the same LLC, Parker Hospitality Ventures. Austin Parker. Of course it was. There's more, Gerald added, and I already knew it wouldn't be good. Your business accounts have been accessed repeatedly, not for withdrawals, but for data. Someone's been pulling financial reports, vendor contracts, pricing sheets, profit margins, the whole playbook. How? I asked, though I already knew. Shared login, he said. Jennifer's listed as co-owner for tax reasons, remember? She has admin access to your accounting software. These pulls happened after hours, 9, 10 at night. Times you'd normally be in bed. Yeah, I said quietly. I stood up and walked over to the window. Outside, it was just another Thursday. People buying coffee, heading to work, living lives that hadn't just been cut open and rearranged. There's one last thing, Gerald said softly. I checked the business registration on Velocity Cafe. The competitor taking your contracts. The silent partner is Parker Hospitality Ventures. Registered 8 months ago. The walls felt closer. Austin wasn't just consulting for my wife's company. He was using inside information from my business to compete directly against me, and using my money to bankroll it, and Jennifer had helped him every step. "What do I do, Gerald?" I asked. He looked at me over the rim of his glasses. "Legally, you document everything. You protect yourself. You hire an attorney. Personally," he laced his fingers together. "Personally, you decide whether you want to fight or walk away. But if you walk away, you do it smart. You don't leave anything behind that can come back to bite you." I drove home in a haze. When I pulled into the driveway, the house was empty. Jennifer was still at work, probably sitting in a conference room with Austin, planning strategy, maybe laughing at some shared joke. I doubted I crossed her mind once. I headed to the garage and found what I was looking for. 3 boxes labeled college files in Jennifer's handwriting, old paperwork she'd never bothered to toss. I opened the first box and started digging. Financial aid forms, transcripts, and at the very bottom, a thank you card dated 22 years ago. Jennifer's junior year, the year before we met. "Thanks for the getaway to Silver Creek. Next one's on me. Let's not wait so long between visits. Yours, Austin." Silver Creek, 7 hours away. Jennifer had once told me she spent that spring break volunteering at a homeless shelter. I'd felt guilty for going skiing with some buddies while she was doing charity work. She hadn't been at a shelter. She'd been in a cabin with Austin. I sat down on the cold garage floor with that card in my hand, and something inside me just settled. It wasn't rage anymore, not even pain. It was clarity, cold, sharp, undeniable clarity. She'd been lying to me from the start. And she'd gotten so used to lying that she'd stopped covering her tracks. That was her mistake. Friday morning began like any other on the surface. Jennifer's alarm went off at 6. I heard the shower, the closet door opening and closing, hangers sliding as she chose her outfit for the big night. I'd been awake for hours in the guest room, watching the ceiling lighten from black to gray as the sun came up. By 7, I was dressed, jeans, work boots, my old Colorado State hoodie. When I came downstairs, Jennifer was in the kitchen with a coffee in one hand and her phone in the other. She glanced up as I walked in. "Morning," she said carefully, like she was testing the air. "Morning," I replied. "You working the downtown shop today?" "That's the plan," she nodded, took a sip. "So, about tonight." "Have a great time," I said evenly. "You earned it." Something flickered across her face. Relief, I think. Like she'd braced for a blow that wasn't coming. "Thank you," she said. "That means a lot." I poured myself a mug of coffee. Black, no sugar. The way I've drunk it for 20 years. "What time does it start?" I asked. 7, but I need to be there by 6 for photos and pre-reception stuff. "Makes sense, Mike." She hesitated, then tried again. "I know things have been weird, but after tonight, once everything settles, we can talk, really talk, about all of it." "Sure," I said, "after tonight." She gave me a small, tentative smile, leaned in to kiss my cheek, and then she was gone, backing out of the driveway and heading toward the life she'd chosen without me. I stayed in the kitchen for a long time after her taillights disappeared, thinking about that kiss, about how effortless it was for her to lie while looking me straight in the eye. Then I got to work. First call was to Gerald. Transfer my half of all joint accounts into my personal business account. Everything. This morning. "That's going to trigger alerts, Mike," he warned. "Bank notifications, flags." "I know," I said. "Do it anyway, and remove me from every joint authorization, credit cards, utilities, anything with both our names. I want my name off by end of day." "You're absolutely sure?" "Gerald, I've never been more sure of anything in my life." The second call went to an attorney I knew from Chamber of Commerce meetings, Patricia Hendris, 56, widely regarded as the best family lawyer in the metro area. "Patricia, it's Mike Harrison. I need to retain you today." "What's going on, Mike?" she asked. "My wife's been draining our accounts to bankroll her ex-boyfriend's business," I said. "She's been leaking information from my franchises to help him undercut me. I need to make sure when this blows up, I'm protected." There was a brief silence. "Be at my office at 9, she said. "Bring every document you have." I spent the next 90 minutes sitting in Patricia's office, laying out the wreckage of my marriage and my finances, piece by documented piece. I laid everything out for her, the bank statements, the forged withdrawal slips, the LLC paperwork, and the timeline showing how my losses lined up perfectly with Austin Parker's gains. Patricia went through it all carefully, jotting notes, asking precise questions. By the time I walked out of her office, we had a plan. File for legal separation on Monday, she said. Don't warn her. Don't give her time to move money, rewrite history, or paint herself as the victim. You go first, you go hard, and you go in with proof. What about tonight? I asked. Her celebration. Patricia looked at me over the rim of her glasses. What about it? Do I show up? Do I call her out there? Are you asking me as your attorney or as a human being? She asked. Both. As your attorney, she said, I strongly advise you not to go. Don't create a public scene. Don't hand her a story about you being unstable, abusive, or harassing. As a person, she gave a thin, icy smile. I say do whatever you have to do to live with yourself. Just don't do anything stupid. I left her office around 11 and headed to the downtown shop. My assistant manager, Tom, was behind the counter, pulling shots like usual. Good kid, 24, studying business at night, smart, reliable. Tom, starting Monday, I need you to oversee all 3 locations, I said. His eyes got huge. Wait, what? All 3? Personal stuff's happening, I said. I'll still be around, but I won't be handling day-to-day for a while. You can handle it. I know you can. Mike, if this is about Jennifer... I looked up sharply. What about Jennifer? Tom shifted, clearly regretting opening his mouth. Nothing, just... I saw her a few months back having lunch with some guy at that Italian place downtown. They looked close. I didn't want to say anything because, well, it didn't feel like my place. How close? I asked. Holding hands across the table close, he said quietly. I nodded, keeping my voice steady. Thanks for telling me, Tom. I'm really sorry, man. Don't be. You didn't do anything wrong. I spent the rest of the afternoon at the Riverside shop, going through inventory, checking schedules, closing things out like it was any other Friday. Around 4, I drove over to a storage unit Jennifer and I had rented years ago, the one she assumed I'd forgotten about. I dug out 3 boxes, old college paperwork, tax returns from the early years of our marriage, the house deed, anything that documented what I'd built and contributed. Then I headed home. Her car wasn't in the driveway. She was already at the Metropolitan Club, getting prepped for her big moment, shaking hands, rehearsing her speech. I walked through the house like a stranger touring a museum of someone else's life. 2 decades of furniture we'd chosen together, photos on the walls, Madison's tiny baby shoes in a shadow box, all the physical proof of a life that I now knew was built on lies. I didn't take everything, just what mattered. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, essential documents, 2 suitcases and 1 box. That's what 20 years boiled down to. I slipped off my wedding ring and left it on the kitchen counter beside the coffee maker, right where she'd see it in the morning. Then I walked out. I didn't go anywhere near the Metropolitan Club. I went someplace more useful. The storage unit was cold and echoey. Concrete floor, metal walls, fluorescent lights humming overhead. But it was quiet, private, mine. I'd rented this one 2 weeks earlier in the name of my business. 10 by 10 feet, just enough room for the boxes from the house and everything else that mattered. I added to the collection the laptop Jennifer didn't know existed, the backup drive with copies of every financial record, the folder Gerald had prepared with highlighted transactions, the notebook where I'd mapped out dates and connections, every secret she thought she'd buried, every angle she assumed I'd never put together. I sat down on a folding chair and checked my phone. 7:15 p.m. The celebration would be in full swing. Jennifer was probably on stage, thanking the executive team, thanking her proud parents, thanking Austin for his invaluable professional insight. My phone buzzed. A text from Madison. Dad, I'm driving home tonight instead of tomorrow morning. Need to see you. Something's wrong. I stared at that message. Something's wrong. She knew. I didn't know how, but she knew. I called her immediately. She picked up on the first ring. Dad. Hey, kiddo, I said. What's going on? Where are you? She asked. I called the house. Mom didn't answer. Your mom's at her promotion party, the VP thing, I said. You know about that. Yeah, I know, she said. Where are you? At work, I lied. Running late. There was a pause. Then Madison's voice dropped, softer but sharper. "Dad, don't lie to me, please." I closed my eyes. "How much do you know?" "Grandma called me last week," she said. "She asked if I was excited about Mom's promotion. Asked if I'd met Austin Parker yet. Said he'd be sitting with them at the celebration." My chest tightened. "What did you say?" "I asked who Austin Parker was," Madison said. "And Grandma got weird. She said he was just a business associate. But the way she said it, it was like she assumed I already knew, like everyone was in on something except you." My chest felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. "Mom's been cheating on you, hasn't she?" Madison said, not as a question, as a statement. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Yeah, she has." I heard her take a shaky breath. "How long?" "I don't know yet," I answered, "but longer than I want to imagine." "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I'm going to handle this the right way," I said. "Legally, carefully, but, Maddie, I need you not to get dragged into the middle of it. Do you understand?" "I'm already in the middle," she said. "She's my mom. You're my dad. There's no version of this where I'm not." "Then let me make one thing as simple as I can," I said. "I'm leaving your mom. I'm filing for separation. It's going to be ugly. There are going to be stories and excuses and people taking sides. But no matter what happens, no matter what she says or what your grandparents say, I need you to hold on to one truth." "What?" she whispered. "I love you," I said. "That doesn't change, ever. You don't have to choose between us. You don't have to fix this. You just have to keep being my daughter. That's all I'll ever ask of you." Madison was crying now. "I love you too, Dad." "I know, sweetheart," I said. "Now I need you to do something for me. Turn around. Go back to campus. Don't come home this weekend. Please trust me on this. Let me take care of this part." There was a long silence. "Okay," she finally said. "But Dad, when this is over, when everything shakes out, I'm with you. I'm on your side, just so you know." "I appreciate that, honey, more than you know," I told Madison. We hung up. I sat there in that cold storage unit, surrounded by boxes and hard proof of my wife's betrayal, and felt something inside me shift. It wasn't anger anymore. It wasn't even pain. It was colder than that. Final. I opened Instagram and pulled up Jennifer's profile. She'd posted 10 minutes earlier, a photo of her at the podium, mid-speech, smiling out over the crowd. The caption read, "Grateful for this incredible opportunity and for everyone who believed in me." The comments were pouring in already. "Congratulations, so well deserved, so proud of you." I checked the tagged photos. Someone had uploaded a wider shot of the banquet hall. I zoomed in on table 3. There were her parents, Richard and Susan, her brother David, and right beside Susan, smiling like he'd earned that seat, was Austin Parker. He was literally sitting in my spot at her celebration, next to my in-laws, drinking my wife's success on money he'd stolen from me. I took a screenshot and saved it into my evidence folder. I renamed it November 15th, the night she chose him. Then I powered off my phone and headed to the hotel I'd booked, a month-to-month extended stay place. 1 room, tiny kitchenette, no questions. I ordered a burger from room service, ate it while some random game played on the TV, took a shower, then stretched out on a bed that didn't belong to me in a room that smelled like industrial cleaner. And for the first time in weeks, I slept. Really slept. Because the worst part was over. The doubting, the second-guessing, the hoping I was wrong. Now I had certainty. And once you know, you can move. Saturday morning, my phone rang at 8 a.m., Jennifer on the screen. I let it ring 4 times before picking up, not to be cruel, but because I wanted her to feel the weight for once. "Mike," she said when I answered. Her voice was tight, controlled. "Where are you?" "Does it matter?" I said. "Of course it matters," she snapped. "You left. You took your things and just disappeared. I came home last night and you were gone." "How was the party?" I asked. I could hear her flinch in the silence that followed. "What?" "Your celebration," I repeated. "How was it? Did Austin enjoy sitting at your table with your parents?" This time, the pause was longer. "Mike, if this is about the seating, it's not about the seating arrangements, Jennifer," I cut in. "It's about $200,000. Dead silence. I could picture the blood draining from her face. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said eventually. "Yeah, you do," I said. "Parker Hospitality Ventures. the LLC you've been funneling our retirement into, Austin's little investment fund, the one he used to open Velocity Cafe and poach my contracts. Mike, can you explain the forged signatures? I asked. Because Gerald showed me the withdrawal slips. That's my signature on paperwork I never signed. That's called fraud, Jennifer. That's a felony. I heard her breathing pick up, turning shallow. You're talking to lawyers, she said. Of course I'm talking to lawyers, I replied. What did you think I was going to do? Just shrug and let you clean me out? It wasn't robbery, she said quickly. It was an investment. Austin needed startup capital. Austin needed my money to compete against me, I said. And you helped him. You gave him our financial details, my vendor list, my pricing, my margins, everything he needed to undercut my shops and steal my accounts. That's not... She stopped, tried again. Mike, you don't understand the full context. Then enlighten me, I said. Explain why my wife has spent the last 18 months stealing from me to build her ex-boyfriend's business. Explain the lunches at your usual spot. You told me were work meetings. Explain the Silver Creek thank you card from the weekend you told me you were volunteering at a shelter. You went through my things. You went through my bank accounts, she said, horrified. We are way past privacy, Jennifer. She started crying then, not dramatic sobs, quiet, controlled tears. But I heard them. Mike, please come home, she said. We can fix this. There's nothing to fix, I said. Monday morning, you're getting served with separation papers. Tuesday morning, I'm filing a police report for fraud and identity theft. And by the end of next week, every client you and Austin stole from me is going to know exactly who he really is. You can't do that, she snapped. That's slander. It's not slander if it's true, I said. And I have proof. Bank records, forged signatures, transaction histories. This isn't something your shiny new VP salary can erase. She went quiet for a long time. What about Madison? She whispered. Madison already knows, I said. She called me last night. You know what she told me? She said she's on my side. Because even your 19-year-old daughter can see what you've been doing. Mike, I'm done, Jennifer, I said. Done with the marriage, done with the lies, done pretending I don't see what's right in front of me. You want Austin? You can have him, but you don't get to keep my money, my business reputation, and my dignity too. I hung up before she could answer. My hand was shaking. Not from rage, but from release. I'd finally said everything I'd been carrying around like a weight. The phone rang again immediately. I declined the call. It rang again. Declined. Then a text came through. Please don't do this. I'm sorry. We can work this out. I love you. I stared at those 3 words. I love you. 21 years of marriage, and now she pulled them out like a fire extinguisher. I deleted the message and blocked her number. Then I called Madison. Hey, Dad, she said. You okay? I'm okay, kiddo, I said. Just wanted to hear your voice. Mom's been calling me all morning, Madison said. Crying, saying you won't talk to her. That's true, I said. I'm not. Good, Madison replied. Don't. She doesn't deserve it. Monday morning, 9 a.m., I was back in Patricia Hendriss's office. She had 3 thick folders laid out on the conference table. Mike, sit down, Patricia said. We need to go over what I found. I sat bracing myself. Your wife didn't just steal from you, she said. Wire fraud, identity theft, and potentially racketeering, Patricia said calmly, depending on how the DA wants to pursue it. Racketeering, I repeated. She nodded. She and Austin Parker have been running a scheme for the last 18 months. They took your business intelligence, used it to undercut your franchises, and funneled the profits back through that LLC. That's organized criminal activity. It fits under RICO. I leaned back in my chair. You're telling me my wife is running a criminal enterprise? Technically, Patricia said. Yes. Then her expression sharpened. But here's where it gets interesting. She pulled out another document. I had a private investigator run a background check on Austin Parker. Turns out, this isn't his first rodeo. She slid a printout toward me. Court records from Oregon. Austin Parker was sued by a former business partner for fraud and misappropriation of funds. Case settled out of court 3 years ago. Amount undisclosed. He's done this before, I said. At least once, Patricia replied. Probably more, and Jennifer either didn't know or didn't care. What does all this mean for the separation? I asked. Patricia gave a thin, razor-edged smile. It means you have leverage. Criminal exposure has a way of making people very cooperative in divorce negotiations. You want the house? You'll get the house. You want full control of any shared business assets? Done. You want restitution for the stolen funds? She'll pay. Because the alternative is standing in front of a jury explaining why she forged your signature. What about Austin? I asked. Can we go after him too? What about him? She said. I'm your attorney, not his. But if you were to file a civil suit against Parker Hospitality Ventures for tortious interference with business relationships and fraud, and if that suit required full discovery of all his financials, that would be entirely legal. Do it, I said. You're sure? She asked. Civil litigation is expensive. It takes time. I'm sure, I said. I want every dollar back, and I want everyone in this industry to know exactly who Austin Parker is. Patricia nodded. I'll have the paperwork ready by Wednesday. I left her office at 10 and drove to the downtown shop. Tom was behind the counter training the new assistant manager. He looked up as I walked in. Boss, Tom said, you look different. Different how? I asked. I don't know, he said. Lighter, maybe. I actually smiled. That's because I finally dropped about 130 pounds of dead weight. Tom laughed, then his face turned serious. Mike, there's something I should probably tell you. Velocity Cafe called me last week. They tried to recruit me, offered 20% more than what I'm making now. What did you say? I asked. I told them to go to hell, he said. But they knew our numbers, Mike. They knew exactly what I make. Someone's been feeding them info. Not anymore, I said. That pipeline is shut down. Tom studied my face. This is about Jennifer, isn't it? Yeah, I said. It is. I'm really sorry, man, he said quietly. Don't be, I said. Sometimes the trash takes itself out. You just have to let it go. I spent the rest of the day at the Riverside location, checking inventory, reviewing the books, chatting with regulars, easing myself back into the normal rhythm of running a business that was actually mine. Around 3, my phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. This is Richard Collins. We need to talk. I stared at it for a long moment. Richard Collins, the man who decided I didn't belong at his daughter's celebration because I wasn't successful enough. I texted back, talk to my lawyer, Patricia Hendris. She'll give you my terms. The typing dots appeared, disappeared, came back again. This is a family matter. It should stay in the family. You should have thought of that before you invited Austin Parker to sit in my seat, I wrote. We're done here. I blocked his number. Immediately my phone rang. Susan Collins this time. I let it go to voicemail. Then David Collins. Voicemail. Then Jennifer from another number. Voicemail again. They were circling the wagons, trying to rewrite the story, trying to paint me as the problem. But I had something they didn't. Documentation, records, evidence. The truth. In the long run, that's what counts. 3 weeks after I filed for separation, Austin Parker's world started to crumble. It began small. A health inspector showed up at Velocity Cafe and found 18 code violations. The place was shut down for a week. Then the Oregon case resurfaced. The former business partner he'd supposedly settled with? Turns out Austin never finished paying the settlement. He made 3 payments and vanished. Now there was a warrant for his arrest in Portland. Then my civil suit hit. Discovery can be a beautiful thing when you're the one asking for records. Austin was forced to turn over every financial document, every contract, every transaction from the last 3 years. What we uncovered was a pattern. He'd pulled this scam before, not just in Oregon, Arizona, Nevada too. Same playbook every time. Find a vulnerable small business owner's wife, seduce her, gain access to the books, siphon information, then launch a competing business that bled the husband's operation dry. Jennifer was just his latest mark. One Thursday morning, Patricia called me. Mike, she said, Austin Parker just filed for bankruptcy, personal and corporate. He's trying to hide what's left before your judgment hits. Not really, Patricia said. He can try, but bankruptcy trustees pay very close attention to recent transfers. All that money he pushed into offshore accounts in the last 6 months, they'll go after it. What about Jennifer? I asked. She's named as a co-conspirator, Patricia replied. If Austin goes down, she's going with him. I sat with that for a while. 21 years of marriage, one daughter, and it all came down to this. My wife staring at potential criminal charges because she trusted the wrong man and helped him destroy what I'd built. Jennifer called that night. It was the first time I'd picked up in 3 weeks. "Mike," she said, her voice small and wrecked, "I need your help." "With what?" I asked. "The DA wants to charge me with fraud. Patricia gave them those documents with the forged signatures. They're saying I could get 5 years. "You could," I said. "A fraud's a felony. Please," she begged, "drop the charges. Tell them you won't press charges." "Jennifer, I didn't press charges," I said. "The DA did. Once they saw the evidence, it stopped being my decision." "But you gave them the evidence," she shot back. "You did this to me." "No," I said calmly. "You did this to yourself. You stole from me. You forged my name. You helped Austin sabotage my business. All I did was write it down." She started crying again. "What about Madison? What happens to her if I go to prison?" "Madison's 19, I said. "She's an adult. She'll be okay." "She won't talk to me," Jennifer whispered. "She won't answer my calls." "That's between you and her," I said. There was a long silence, and then she said something I honestly didn't expect. "I'm sorry," she said, "for all of it. I was stupid. I thought Austin was going to make me rich. I thought we were building something together, but it was all lies." "Yeah," I said. "It was." "Do you hate me?" she asked. I thought about it. Did I hate her? No. Hate takes energy. It takes caring enough to hold on to the anger. And I was done with both. "I don't hate you, Jennifer," I said. "I just don't love you anymore. And that's worse, isn't it?" She hung up without answering. The divorce was finalized 8 weeks later. Jennifer signed whatever Patricia put in front of her. She didn't fight for the house. She didn't fight for the franchises. She didn't fight for anything. She was too busy dealing with the criminal case. The DA offered her a plea deal. Plead guilty to 1 count of fraud, 2 years probation, restitution payments. She took it. Austin wasn't as fortunate. He got 3 counts of fraud, 1 count of identity theft, and multiple theft charges. The judge gave him 4 years. With good behavior, he'd probably walk in 2. I kept the house. I kept the franchises. I got a judgment against Austin for $200,000 that I'll probably never see a cent of. But I got something more important. I got Madison. She came home for Thanksgiving, just the 2 of us in the kitchen. We cooked a normal dinner, turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, nothing fancy, but it felt right. "Dad," she said while we were doing dishes, "are you okay? Really okay?" "Yeah, honey," I said. "I really am." "I'm proud of you," she said, "for leaving, for standing up for yourself, for not just taking it." I pulled her into a hug. "You're the best thing that came out of that marriage. You know that." "I know," she said. "You tell me every time I visit." And it was true. 14 months after Jennifer's big celebration, I was standing inside the grand opening of my 4th coffee shop. It was bigger than the others, in a better area, with upgraded equipment. The expansion I'd been planning long before Austin Parker ever entered the picture. Madison was there for spring break, working behind the counter in one of our branded shirts, making lattes and chatting with customers. Tom was running the downtown store as a full partner now, 20% ownership. He'd earned every bit of it. My phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. Settlement finalized. Austin's trustee recovered $140,000 from the offshore accounts. Checks in the mail. Not everything I'd lost, but a lot. Enough. More than enough. A woman stepped up to the counter, mid-30s, blonde, confident smile. "This place is fantastic," she said. "How long have you been in business?" "About 15 years, I said. "Started with 1 location. Now we're at 4. "That's impressive," she said. "I'm opening a bakery across the street. Maybe we could work together. Your coffee, my pastries." "Maybe," I said. "I'm Mike, by the way." "Sarah," she said, offering her hand. "Sarah Mitchell." We talked for about 20 minutes, about the neighborhood, small business headaches, and a whole lot of nothing important. It felt easy, natural, the way conversation is supposed to feel when no one's hiding anything. When she left, Madison came over with a smirk. "She was flirting with you," she said. "She was not," I said. "She definitely was," Maddie said. "She wrote her personal number on your business card." I looked at the card. Sure enough, 10 digits in neat handwriting under the bakery's name. You should call her, Madison said. Maybe I will, I said. Dad, it's been over a year. Mom's moved on. You should too. Your mom moved on 2 years before we separated, I said. That's a little different. Then call it evening the score, she said. Call it whatever you want. Just call her. I slipped the card into my pocket. We'll see. That night, after the grand opening rush died down, I sat alone in my new office going over the numbers. They were good, better than good. The business was healthy, growing, mine. My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. Saw the news about the new location. Congratulations. You deserve it. I stared at it for a long time, then deleted it without replying. Because that's the thing about moving on. You can't do it if you're still turning around to look at the wreckage. I took out Sarah's business card, looked at the handwritten number, and thought about what Madison had said. Then I typed, "Hey, it's Mike from the coffee shop. Want to grab dinner this week and talk more about that partnership?" The typing dots appeared. I'd love to. Does Friday work? Friday's perfect, I replied. I set my phone down and glanced around my office. The framed photo of Madison on the wall, the business license with my name on it, the tangible proof of a life I'd rebuilt from the ground up. Jennifer had taken a lot from me. Money, years, trust. But she hadn't taken the essentials. She hadn't taken my ability to build something real, to stand back up, to start over. That was the difference between us. She gambled everything on a con artist and lost. I bet on myself and won. The shop was buzzing with customers. Madison was laughing at the register. The espresso machine was hissing and humming in the background. Everything felt exactly how it was supposed to. I was 44, single, expanding my business, and maybe, just maybe, starting something new too. It wasn't the life I imagined 21 years ago when I married Jennifer Collins. It was better.